Hey guys and girls, my name's Ellen and welcome to today's video. It is a Saturday, which of course means another Uncharted 4 multiplayer video. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. As you can tell from the title of this video, today I'm going to be continuing my US story recap. I do believe we're on part 9 now, can you believe it? Almost double digits. I'm fairly sure that next week's video is going to be the final part, so that'll be 10-part story. And I don't know, this might make like a good TV series. I keep banging on about it as a joke, but I think if someone took this and we sort of worked out a bit of dialogue, I think it'd be quite a good TV series, just saying. If you happen to work in the industry or you think you can hook me up with someone, let me know. I'm very much inclined to talk business. I think this could work. I'm just saying, but I don't know, I think this could work, could be a good idea, so yeah, hit me up. Right, so before we get down to the US story, as per usual, I'm going to just talk about some miscellaneous stuff. If you hadn't heard, this month's PlayStation Plus subscription bonus game, free game, whatever you want to call it, is Modern Warfare Remastered. That's something else I can't remember, but that's definitely the big one. And of course, it's funny because I actually have that game, I just haven't played it. I bought the Legacy Edition. I got it sometime last year because it was cheap, and it's still sitting on my shelf, completely sealed, haven't touched it yet. And I guess I don't have to touch it now, because the only reason I bought that game was for Modern Warfare Remastered, but now it's a free PlayStation Plus game. I can just download it, which I would have had to done anyway because it's a digital only game. So I can download it onto my console and I can just play it. I really do want to play the campaign again, and I definitely want to post it to my players channel, but there's so many other games I need to play beforehand and get those to move on to some different games. And of course the multiplayer I do want to try out, but at this point the servers might sort of be a little bit dead. I think there are bots in MWI if I remember correctly, so I might just play against those, have a bit of fun, but it's just nice to reminisce, you know. And I know they added a bunch of DLC weapons which kind of ruined it for a lot of people, so I don't know if I'd enjoy the multiplayer anyway in this current form. But it's just nice, yeah, trip down memory lane. So if you haven't downloaded it yet and you've got PlayStation Plus, then now's a good time to jump on a free game. And of course to relive the campaign. And if you haven't played the campaign before, then you are in for a treat, boys and girls. I'm just saying, give it a try. And speaking of Call of Duty, I think it's about that time of the year where they sort of begin to hint about the next titles. So I'm guessing any week now we're going to find out some news. I'd say April at the latest we're going to find out. There are some rumours floating around that's going to be Modern Warfare 4. And bundled into that game will probably be Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. So who knows, maybe... I mean, don't get me wrong, COD 4 was really fun, but Modern Warfare 2 I think is my personal favourite in the franchise, multiplayer wise anyway. I don't know how I would feel if they remastered it. They'd probably ruin it by adding DLC and stuff, but the first few weeks, just for the nostalgia if anything else, I think it would be kind of interesting. But having said that, I mean, I bought Infinite Warfare really late, and I still haven't played it, so even if they released it, I don't know if we're going to have time to play it, but we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, just a lot of rumours floating around at this point, so possibly MW4 with MW2 bundled in, but yeah, we're just, I don't know, just excited to see what the next game is going to be, because Black Ops 4, I haven't played a great deal of, but I mean, it's okay. I mean, I'm still playing Fortnite, which probably says a lot, to be honest, the fact that I'm still playing this game after a whole year of grinding it. To be honest though, I am getting a little bit bored of Fortnite. In fact, that's wrong. I'm going to talk about this more in a Fortnite video, but I think at the moment I'm getting a bit of burnout just because we're playing so much of it. Like, I've streamed so many hours this past couple of weeks, it's unreal. And I'm having fun doing it, and I'm having fun playing with friends and stuff, but I think the map definitely needs to shake up, and I don't know, just... they need to do something to make it more interesting, because at the moment we're just landing in the same places all the time. And again, I'll talk about this in another video because I don't think today's video is the right place to discuss it. Right then, so I think we can carry on with the US story recap now. So in the previous video I talked about my first day on the ship and how it it didn't end so well. Not because anything happened that was bad, I just... well, long story short, I got seasick and I'd stuffed myself silly because there was so much food, and then it all came back up again and it wasn't pretty. And so that was basically my first night on the ship. Stayed in bed and tried not to throw up anymore, and it was just, you know, it wasn't a really nice feeling. Like, I kind of knew I was susceptible to being seasick because of my first ever time going on a ferry. We went to France a couple of years ago, and on the journey there I remember being like really ill, and then on the way back the water was really choppy, and I remember just being in the cabin the entire time, just like, it's a weird feeling to describe. Like, I can't really explain it, but if you've been on a boat and you sort of get seasick, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, then, well, I mean, I'd say it's a really hard feeling to describe. It's just like this sort of, I don't know, your stomach sort of doesn't sit well, and I think a part of it is because obviously there's fluid in your stomach, right? That's obviously moving with the ocean, and you're sort of just not used to it. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a really bizarre feeling, and I'm obviously not used to it. And I'd get travel sick anyway, because like when you sit in a car or whatever, I'm not one of those people who can sit and read a book, because I will I would get a headache. I would probably end up throwing up or something. But I can manage that. I don't get massively travel sick, but seasick is definitely something I'm susceptible to. Anyway, enough about that. So that was my first night. I was in bed, and the second day we were supposed to wake up early to go on an excursion to a place called Catalina, which is an island off the coast of LA. And apparently it's famous because it features in films and stuff, and there's like a few like buildings there and that, which were really nice actually. I saw them from shore. But they woke up early, they tried to wake me up at the bar, and I was like, nah, I'm staying in bed, I'm not going, because I just wasn't feeling up to it. Not only was I still feeling crook from being seasick, but my cold that I was suffering, you know, prior to the wedding and during the few days of the wedding, it was sort of, it just, I don't know, it got worse again for some reason. They came back from their excursion to Catalina about, I don't know, 1, 2 in the afternoon. I eventually got out of bed because I had to. I was hungry, I was dehydrated. And so I got out of bed, but I was still feeling like really just not with it. And I made a mistake. So I was thirsty, so I drank. The only juice I had available that was free was lemon juice. So I drank lemon juice, and I drank quite a lot of it. And I was okay for the next couple of hours. I got on deck. I took a couple of painkillers to try and numb the headache that I had. And I got a bit of sunshine and, you know, a bit of sea breeze. And at this point, the ship, I should say, was anchored offshore slightly off the coast of the island of Catalina. And probably a good thing that I didn't go on the excursion, because the way that they got to the island, because obviously there's no massive pier or anything, you had to get on a smaller ship, and I could see that the boat was sort of swaying in the water, so I don't know how I would have fared on that ship, to be honest with you. It's a shame that I missed out on the island, because I said it's quite a famous little island, so I've heard anyway, and it looked kind of nice. The buildings, the architecture, that sort of stuff looked kind of cool. I saw some of it from the deck, and again I took some photos, but it's not quite the same as actually being there, especially when I was so close to being there. You know, it's on the opposite side of the world, and I'm a few hundred meters off the coast of this little island, this famous little island, and I couldn't go because I was seasick. So yeah, I didn't really do much that day. So the first night was a complete write-off. The second day, most of it was a write-off. I was in bed for half of it. So I woke up, drank lemon juice, got topside. As with most cruises, I would assume, on the deck they had a variety of just little games that you could play. So there was a giant chessboard. There was things like shuffleboard where you push the things along with a stick. The crazy golf, which I mentioned last week. And anyway, so my aunt saw this chessboard and she decided to have a match with me. Now, this is funny because she's never played chess before. So she was getting some coaching off my cousin, who apparently was part of a chess club or something. Or was part of a chess club. So he knew what he was talking about. And I haven't played chess in a long time. I used to play a little bit back in the day, like just because I wanted to learn how to play chess, and so I did. And then I played a little bit with my sister and my dad, but we haven't played for many years. So I was struggling to remember the rules, but we had a really intense match, and it was kind of funny because I could have won on several occasions, but she kept moving the pieces back in time, because she said that I hadn't explained the rules to her, but I didn't really know the rules anyway. I was just playing from what I remember. It's not my fault if I was winning the game by doing that. But eventually I won the match and she admitted defeat, and so that was GG. I'm not really too sure why I even bothered playing, because I was kind of ill. I'm obviously hungry, not feeling great, but here's me trying to concentrate really hard on this chess match just to beat my aunt. Anyway, I won, so I guess there's that, but it was just really funny. So earlier I said I made a mistake, and the mistake was drinking all that lemon juice. Apparently, on an empty stomach, and especially when you're feeling seasick, it is not a good idea to drink or eat anything acidic, so fruit and fruit juices. And here's me, having drank several cups of lemon juice, was definitely now feeling the effects of this. At this point, it was sort of late afternoon, early evening, and the ship was getting ready to weigh anchor and to leave the port for our next destination. And eventually it did start moving, and I could just feel it straight away. And I was like, I need to go back to the cabin. And I just made it back to the cabin in time before a fountain, and I hate to paint this picture for you guys and girls, but a fountain of lemon juice left my stomach via obviously my mouth and entered the toilet. So yeah, it wasn't great. And so for the second day in a row, I was once again seasick, but this time round, because it was just juice, it wasn't so bad. But it was, yeah, it wasn't a great feeling at all, and I still remember it. Now last week I did talk about how, well, I'd done the week before as well, I talked about how there was so much food on the ship. As you can tell from the first 2 days, I didn't get to enjoy much of that. The first sit-down dinner was really nice, but it didn't last very long. And the second night, I didn't eat anything at all, pretty much the entire day. But they did save me a plate of food, and I think they ordered me like a pork steak or something. It's actually really nice. I didn't eat it on the night, but they brought it back to the cabin, and I think it was like really late in the night or really early the next day I ate it. And it was all cold and everything, but it was still kind of tasty. and it was just good to get solid food into my stomach. And apparently it's good to have a full stomach because it stops sort of the fluids in your stomach sort of moving with the ocean or something like that, and so it settles you a little bit. So a lot of if you eat a lot of bread and stuff like that, apparently it's good for you if you're seasick, which I mean I wasn't really inclined to listen because I was just feeling terrible, probably because I hadn't eaten a lot, hadn't drank a lot. So it was good to get some food into me. It was kind of nice. I don't know, the details are a little bit fuzzy actually. I can't remember what I did that night. I think obviously I slept quite a lot and then I ate the dinner well after hours, but I don't think I did much else on the second day of the ship. Overnight the ship continued moving, and it never stopped really, so the ship was always moving unless it was docked somewhere, obviously. And it was making its way further down south, and we were going to Mexico, and that was going to be our next stop of the cruise. Catalina was the first stop, and then Mexico Ensenada was the location that we were going to go to, and that was the second stop. And then they would go from Ensenada all the way back to LA again, and that would be like a 3-4 day cruise done and dusted. So overnight they got us to Ensenada, and I woke up pretty early the next day because obviously I went to bed quite early, and I think that was when I ate my dinner. So it was like really early breakfast is when I ate that dinner. And I remember just sitting and watching the ship pulling to the port and then eventually docking. And it's funny how being just outside of the port, obviously my stomach was feeling really a bit queasy. But then as soon as they got into the port, and obviously the water's a lot more still, that's why they have ports, my stomach settled a little bit. And I did start to feel better, if I'm honest with you. And so at that point, I decided that I was going to get off the ship and actually enjoy some of the cruise and obviously some of the excursions. Again, it's kind of funny, but I never really thought that we had to go through passport control to get into Mexico. I mean, we did do a little bit of it before we got into the cruise ship itself back in LA. But we had to go through sort of another little thing before we actually were allowed to obviously explore Mexico ourselves. So we disembarked off the ship and we got to this little station, and they would check our ID and stuff, and then they eventually let us through. And that was it. That's how we got into Mexico. And it was really early morning, so there wasn't a lot going on, but we were walking along the docks, and there was like a little marketplace where they were selling like fish and stuff. And I guess, I mean, that wasn't anything extraordinary. Most coastal towns have that sort of thing, so that was it's cool to see, but it wasn't anything special. And eventually we made our way into the town, and if I'm honest with you, it's a very small town and there wasn't a lot going on, and that's why we decided to do a day trip. And that day trip is something I'm going to be covering in next week's video because today I've run out of time. I did say that I thought next week was going to be the final part, the 10th and final part of this recap story, but I'm not too sure at this point. There might be another part after that, but we'll see, we'll see. Anyway, if you enjoyed the content of today's video, do consider tapping the like button. I really do appreciate it. And as always, if you've got any thoughts, like to share me regarding anything I've talked about, do let me know in the comment section below. Just before I sign off, I have posted quite a lot of Fortnite footage to my channel of late, so if you're interested in watching some gameplay, then check out the videos I posted earlier in the week. Also, as I mentioned at the start, I've been streaming quite a lot of late, so if you do fancy watching me live sometime, links on the screen, also in the description below. But yeah, that'll do it for today's video. Until next time, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, take care, and I will see you later.